So we're standing right here, right across the street from the El Garces Hotel, and as you can see, they're currently under construction, trying to get it back up and running again. And you were talking about the one of the ideas to maybe help boost the economy and try to also bring jobs here is about a maglev, a maglev train, and how that would help the Colorado River Tri-State area. Tell me a little about that.
This installation here in Needles, which would house the nation's first high-speed train, maglev train, which is maglev is short for magnetic levitation, would be located here, and this is part of a general plan that includes a project called Rio Solari. This is a major linchpin in that concept, in that, again, being a first in the nation with the high-speed train, but also a portal for the Route 40, taking people from that very heavily traveled east-west route in our country, which is arguably probably the most heavily traveled east-west route in the country, and allowing people to travel immediately off the highway, which there are a few exits into Needles, and to enjoy and understand the future of transportation with the maglev train.
Now, of course, we're standing right along the Burden Northern Santa Fe Railroad, and of course, there's a train coming right behind me here. Tell me about what would this project do? This maglev train do? Would it be serving for more of a passengers or freight or cargo? And what will that do to help these different cities along or near the rail line?
What it would do is essentially link the area, this 22-mile stretch from Needles to Laughlin, Nevada, which is all in part of Rio Solari. When you go to the site at riosolari.com, you can understand how congruent this whole concept is, and using this as the southernmost node on this string of installations uses Needles as a very influential and strategic point. Logistically, Needles is extremely important because this is how people will be coming off the route, off 40, off the highway, to visit Needles. They would then take the train from Needles and visit different installations up through Rio Solari.
Now, how would they do that? Now, regarding if it's a freight, now will this project deliver freight?
No, there's no freight.
And it's only passengers.
That's correct.
So would they use, now they won't be using like rails here, they'll be using maglev tracks or something.
Maglev or magnetic levitation is essentially magnetic energy that's floating on air. And if you will, imagine how a caterpillar moves along, and you can see that motion. The same thing happens when magnets are opposing each other, and as energy is regulated or metered along that path, just like a caterpillar, it pushes it along and floating literally on air. Speeds of these trains can reach up over 300 miles an hour. Not that that would be our goal for this train, but it would be certainly a scenic route that starts in Needles and interlaces the Colorado River up to Laughlin.
Now, of course, you're saying that you have the freight train here, you have the train, Garces train station here that they're currently working on that.
Yes.
And you see the environment here, we have a dirt road, we got some homes here and that. Will this project be able to fit into the spacing of the area here? Is there going to be any issues about where they're able to build, or land issues or anything like that?
I'm not an architect, but only a person, the person who has brought this concept to light, and these different components are left up to experts to develop each of these points separately. In regards to how much space you would need for what we're talking about, obviously it's a rail that is not really a conventional rail. It's something that you would find that would be mostly elevated to circumvent the real estate here in town, to then proceed beyond the reaches of Needles and then to and over the river. Right now, the concept includes the existing train station, but also a satellite campus of Florida State University, which is the main research center for magnetic levitation research. And so the train station behind us could house that college and classrooms, and perhaps new structures as well to house the train and the schooling, the campus for this college.
Now, of course, transportation here is very, very difficult to hear, especially for those who are not able to get all the way to the other side into Arizona, and people wanting to go to the different businesses or or markets or even to the casinos there. Will this maglev train be able to stop at stops that maybe the public are very interested in? Those what's some of those stops that would
it will stop at various points along Rio Solari, the concept of Rio Solari. Different nodes, for example, would be the Avi Casino, where the Mojave tribe would be very important in this concept of Rio Solari, where America would have its first cellulosic sugarcane production plants on the many thousands of acres that the tribe now uses for other crops. And so this transition from what they grow now to sugarcane production for ethanol, which versus corn, which we now use for ethanol production in this country, is much, much more efficient. There are other reasons why sugarcane is best suited for this area, especially with the research that has been going on for sugarcane production in the arid lands. The key to that is irrigation, subterranean drip irrigation, unlike what they use now for their alfalfa, hay, and cotton crops, which is basically flood irrigation, which is extremely inefficient. And I'm hoping that the tribe sees the sugarcane production for ethanol as a profit center for them, which will be immensely, astonishingly more profitable than their existing crops.
But to bring it back to the train, the maglev train, say if someone from Needles wants to go up the river and go to maybe like to one of the outlets up there and stuff, or maybe go to the casino or go anywhere up there, will this project help them to be able to go up the river and go to the different businesses? Or
well, I was going to say, I think economically speaking, as Rich has always stated, that Needles has always been a hub for transportation. And the concept of the maglev train is to take people to the other areas of Rio Solari that would have many merits as far as not just necessarily looking at the sites such as our solar fields or the ethanol production, but also take them to the casinos where they could buy whatever they have, because essentially this is going to rejuvenate what this 22-mile stretch of land is. Rio Solari is almost a rebirth, a revisioning of what Needles, Fort Mojave, Bullhead City, and Laughlin can be. And I truly believe that the maglev obviously is going to be this linking source to take people back and forth in really a remarkable sort of way.
Because I know a lot, since we're covering Needles here, a lot of people have always wanted transportation to go up north, and it sounds like this will be a very helpful way of doing it. How much would this type of project cost?
Roughly speaking, about $2 billion in today's dollars. Right now, there's a train from a maglev train from in China, from the Shanghai airport to the city center, which is about 20 miles, and that budget was around $2 billion. We're hoping that because Mr. Warren Buffett, who owns the BNSF Railroad, would be interested in this concept and afford the money, not only maybe for him, but other sources. But I think it would be a great asset to his company to have this country's first high-speed maglev train. And also of interest too, that high-speed trains have been on the drawing board here in our country for a long time, and has been the darling of Harry Reid, for example, who has been wanting a high-speed train from Southern California to Las Vegas for the longest time. I think that this train link here, even although not as along a stretch from Southern Cal to Vegas, but would serve as an inspiration to build others as time goes on.
Well, also too, if the maglev train it would hit all the way to like Laughlin, Nevada, so it would hit to a casino there, and that'd be helpful there to their community as well.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, a big question is what kind of how many jobs will bring to now. Speaking to this project, the maglev project itself, how many jobs will this bring? Both if it's temporary job or in permanent jobs. How many different?
Well, the project center here for the maglev would be the research center. That would be a college campus. So you would have teachers, faculty, and so forth, staff, with that matter, as permanent positions, and of course you have the people who maintain this train, and initially, of course, you have the building of this train, which would involve thousands of people. This is all in all, including Needles and the rest of Rio Solari, I could see easily $5 billion plus to develop all of this.
And there will be a lot of money going to for those who are putting this project, building this project, and those who are going to be employed with the maglev train will be able to put money into this community too, which is also another thing that this community here in Needles, California needs.
Well, I was going to say, I think in general too, economically speaking, this project, I mean, of course, it's about sustainability, closed loop society, as Rich always puts, but I believe economically, Rio Solari is as I said before, a rebirth, and I don't just mean for the society itself, but also for the economy. The jobs that this would produce, not just here in Needles, but of course throughout the tri-state area, this 22-mile stretch of land, would be astronomical. It would completely turn around how the economy has been, and I think that the amount of money it would draw in and allowed to be distributed back out would turn things around immensely.
Now, you brought up about the education part of the college part of it. Have you guys talked to the Palo Verde Community College here? Are you guys planning to do it? Because they have a college here in Needles, California.
I didn't really know that there was a college campus until today.
But if they were interested to be part of this, if they were interested in being part of this project, what would you like to tell them, or would you like to?
Oh, certainly. This idea is far beyond myself. Again, I'm very humbled that God has given me this vision to get out there to people, and where it goes from here. This very video we're taking at the moment is perhaps a linchpin in the explosive and electric idea of Rio Solari.
The other thing too is that has anybody put something forward, like say, hey, we want to put this. We have the supplies ready to go. We have the stuff ready. If the city of Needles says, hey, we want this here, or is there people ready to go forward with this project?
Actually, I should mention that I have been speaking with the owner of the property, the defunct Emerald River Golf Course, his name is Mr. Nick Azuz, and if you go to the website nickazuz.com, you'll find existing plans where at the time, back in the 90s, he had envisioned a hotel casino project, which isn't going to happen. However, I did explain to him about this project, and he absolutely loves it. He's very much for it, very positive.
So there is people who they're like, hey, if this city or this or that city just says, hey, we want this project, there's people that will say, hey, we're ready to build the first pillar of the maglev, ready to go. We'll have the trucks down here ready to build. It's not like it's going to take like years and years or decades to get. It'll be something that'll be done be ready to go.
We do have a major player that wants to move forward.
Okay, all right. And what other?
I think the biggest thing is just getting everyone on board. More people that check out RioSolari.com have an opportunity to see Rich's vision for what Rio Solari is, a river in the sun. That's what it's really going to take. We need to get the Warren Buffetts. We need to get the Stephen Pickens. We need to have the majority of people that understand what this project can be to see, again, what Rich's vision is.
Because it sounds like it'll be a good project. As you can see how busy this area is with the tracks and everything. And it'll be good to help the communities up the river stuff. Has any other communities said, hey, we like this idea, support this idea? Any other communities have said?
Well, this is here on October 3rd, 2012. We're in the infancy of getting this idea out to the masses. I've had this idea for about 5 years, but never really got it to a point whereby, for example, Dustin here helped produce the website. We are now doing this video. We just, not more than an hour ago, we're on a radio talk show. I've done this is a second talk show on our local radio. And so the point is that we are taking it to the streets, so to speak. And if somebody out there is listening and says, you know what, this is America's renewal, this is the answer, I am compelled to help this vision happen, this is what we're hoping to do.
Now, currently you're here in Needles, California. Have you talked to anybody from the city of Needles about this project and what their reaction to that?
Actually, I did speak with the city of Needles yesterday, and spoke with a lovely person that is in planning, and this person seemed quite interested. And so, again, my attitude is to reach people in all positions, the pedestrian up to mayors and governors, who I've tried to reach up in our tri-state area, governors, congresspeople, and so the whole point is to keep moving forward to reach that one person with the influence to ignite this idea.
And as you can tell, again, we're right near the Bernal Santa Fe rail line. Have you, as you can see, with the
Warren Buffett right there.
yeah, there's a train right there going by and passing by there. So, and you can tell that this area does get a lot of freight traffic or any freight traffic in that. Is there any plans in relates to the maglev to maybe work some sort of way for freight traffic to travel up and down? Is there even a possibility of that happening? Or
I don't see that happening for Rio Solari.
Right.
The idea, if people understand that this is the maglev train, is a demonstration of high-speed trains and that technology, and not really used for freight. But
so that's
the California Zephyr, for example, a scenic railroad. Well, this will be along the same lines.
Let's see. Now there's more to this project than just this maglev, and we're going to be getting to that in our next video, and we learn more about the entire area. So we'll be back on that, and just we'll come back and bring it up at our next location here on Zach News. All right, so tell me a little bit about the project, about your project you're introducing to the people
Rio
of
Solari.
Tell a little bit about it.
Well, Rio Solari is a model on a world-class level of a self-sustaining closed-loop society that starts from Needles, California, and ends in Laughlin, Nevada. And it involves a number of installations at this point, 5 major installations, with things such as transportation and agriculture and recreation all involved.
And amazing you mentioned agricultural, and here, the area we're standing at, we're just right next to the Needles airport here, and there's been a lot of talk that we need to bring more of those type of things here to this part of the area. And you can see there's a lot of space.
Thousands and thousands of acres. I see the river in the background, yes.
And there's Interstate 40, and then beyond that is the Bernal Santa Fe Railroad, and of course, once again, way over there is the Needles Airport, and there's been talk about trying to get different projects like that, like industry projects, agricultural projects, clean energy projects here, and things like that. Will that project have some of those different things in it?
Rio Solari is, again, a think tank on a world-class level. So it is an incubator for such things as agriculture projects, clean energy projects. This area here, obviously, well, for people who are not familiar with the area, Needles is located in the southwest at the tri-state junction of Nevada, Arizona, and California, and the weather here is ideal for solar production, solar energy production. And so when there is this project, Rio Solare, that comes online and it starts to develop, then there is other interest, tertiary industries will start to involve themselves here, whereby the idea of the sugarcane production, for example, could be very much a part of this land. There will be this attraction, this interest in the vicinity itself, and for people who know this area, Needles, California is a major national freight hub, and so this can be a distribution center for the region, just as Kingman, for example. By the way, Kingman, Arizona has been voted the #1 inland port on the West Coast. It was in competition with other cities such as Victorville, but won out because of the traffic on Highway 40, arguably the most heavily traveled freight corridor from Port of LA to all points east. And so this is a great interest to distribution networks for freight especially, which of course is why Needles in and of itself is so strong in that department. You know, Mr. Buffett, Warren Buffett, most people know who that is, richest man in America, or one of them. And his interest in buying freight networks is very high, which is why he bought the BNSF railroad. So it's high on his list for being a stable and yet to be up-and-coming industry that will be seeing a very good future.
And it sounds like this will create a lot of jobs here in this area, and that's the thing. And especially here, you have all this space, and you can hear a lot of the trucks that go by. This is a heavy route that goes from Needles, California to Blight, California down there, and far southward than that. And then, of course, you have the interstate that goes from Arizona to like Kingman, and you go all the way to Barstow, California, up there and stuff. And so this is a heavy traveled area here, so that'll be great for industry. Back on the jobs, how many jobs can be created out of all this? Especially, say, if you put a bunch of industry, agriculture, and maybe clean energy ones in this area. How many could it be, if you had to estimate?
Well, certainly thousands of jobs. For example, the solar project that is on the drawing board right now for Laughlin, headed by the Chinese company called ENN Solar, they project that cost of that project will be between $2 to $6 billion, and have as many as 2,000 permanent jobs on a 15,000 acre site, so big that they will be creating their own sustainable city for their production workers. And so that could easily be a concept that could be projected here, for that matter.
I was also going to say as well, I mean, obviously, it's hard to give an exact number, I think, on the exact number of jobs that something like this will produce, but Rio Solare is going to produce a media frenzy of tourism and things that are going to come to this area that wasn't here before. I mean, just like Vegas, their idea of tourism with the casino started to bring in a lot more visitors. Obviously, the city brought around them. Of course, Rio Solare is not Las Vegas because this is a self-sustained society, not a gambling mecca, so to speak, although Laughlin will definitely be a part of it. It's going to be something people want to go out, want to go visit. And I don't see why you won't see millions of people come to this area. And literally, they would want to stay because of the uniqueness that Rio Solare is going to provide. a self-sustained society just doesn't exist here in the United States.
Right, right. I think it's also very important that as human beings in general, first of all, we are where we are, we do what we do, generally speaking, because we're incentivized. When you're hungry, you eat. That's a pretty good incentive right there. So the fact of the matter is that that basic method of survival that involves being incentivized will allow Rio Solari to grow to potentials yet unseen because of the times we live in, the circumstances that surround a very precarious future in this country, having much to do with energy and the threat of losing energy sources. So when Rio Solari becomes more online, it will have people understand that this is a mecca, as Dustin said, to come to. And in time, the incentive of being here, because of its logistics, because of its closed loop society, food, energy, water are necessary elements for survival. So, for example, let's say you have your car. If you will be incentivized to live here if you have, say, a flex fuel vehicle or an electric vehicle. Okay, you will get tax benefits for that matter. The government will. This will be, we hope, to be the darling of the Energy Department of Washington. This is an international destination. This is an example for the world. And again, I'm so honored and privileged that the Creator has given me this opportunity to share this idea. It's so far beyond me. It's going to take what, say for example, the Golden Triangle, as the CEO of Coca-Cola. I just saw just recently on a talk show talking about an invention for bringing clean water to the world. He and another company, Dean Kamen, who's invented the Segway. Okay. Anyways, getting off track for a moment, but I want to just refer to what he was talking about, and that is when major social change happens, such as what I intend Rio Solari to be. It only happens when you have corporations, when you have the civil society, and you have government involved to create the three pillars to keep this idea, or any idea, supported to that point where it sustains itself. Without support from these three legs, it won't happen.
And you mentioned about the energy thing. There's so much room for it, and we, of course, you are feeling how the sun is out here, and the heat, and you got also we get some wind sometimes here in the area here, and this has a lot of potential. And there's been talk about about having clean energy here, and also about having a transportation hub here for both for supply and sending goods across the area here, but also for clean trucks to transfer from I hate to use the word gas guzzling trucks to cleaner energy trucks here, and there's a lot of talk of doing that. But is there people ready for all these different projects you mentioned, ready to say, hey, if we got the approval to do it, we're here, we're ready to go, we have the money, we're here to bring you, we're here, we're not gonna it's not gonna take billions of years to, or even to do?
The fact is that one of these installations in Rio Solari, that is the Emerald River Eco Park, owned by a gentleman by the name of Nick Azuz, is familiar with my concept, and he's very much a part of this, in the sense that he likes the idea, he loves the idea, and wants it to happen. Of course, his interest is the fact that he has a vacant property that he needs to do something with, and he knows there's nothing else that can be done with it. But when he saw my presentation, he was enthralled with it, and he's certainly behind it. And so yes, there's a major player involved that would like to move forward.
I would also definitely tell people that are watching this to check out riosolari.com, watch our presentation. We are going to be updating it regularly. And we have plenty of traffic going by us.
And there goes some goods right there along this highway right there.
But, you know, I think that one of the biggest things for Rich's dream and for the dream of Rio Solari is that the more people that see what Rich has put out there, what he's developed this concept on, is the more people that are going to understand it and support it. I would really recommend to check out the presentation, check out this concept, and understand that this is not something that's going to change just one day. This is something that's going to change the future. This is literally a revolution in what human sustainability can be.
And, you know, going back to Needles, California, of course, a lot of things are happening there with a lot of businesses that are closing, a lot of people moving out, and because there's not jobs here, and also there needs to be a lot for education here that needs to be done here. And the hope is that maybe these type of projects will boost the area up, bring more jobs here, bring more people back to the community, and even bring some more our life into Needles, where right now, as you saw, we went through downtown Needles. There's not a lot right now going on there, and
it isn't really. It's a terrible thing for people to see what was once a vibrant town, and there's a philosophical leaning towards this idea as well, in the sense that we can all understand the ebb and flow of life. Success is not permanent, nor failure, but life keeps moving on and change occurs. And when it comes to Needles, it seems to me, from an onlooker standpoint, you see this ebb and flow, and we are certainly at this point in the Needles economy where you could see for yourself the current, so to speak, or the wave that has gone out as far as it could, and it seems like the direction keeps going further out beyond the shore, so to speak. There is the time, and I believe it has to be now, for that tide to change. There has to be this return. There has to be the floating of boats, so to speak, as this tide comes in. To start lifting, because the devastation, the economic devastation that Needles has experienced, you would think that it's been crucified enough, and it's time to put that to rest and move forward. How much more can happen to this town that already has happened in this wrong direction, so to speak? But again, philosophically speaking, there is this ebb and flow, and I'm hoping that this idea of Rio Solari has people understand, and now it's time. Now it's time to bring in the influence and lift this area with a new tide of economic resurgence.
I would also say it's absolutely essential for people to understand what Rio Solari can mean, not just for them individually, but for everyone. Needles, California, Mojave Valley, Arizona, Fort Mojave, Bullhead City, Laughlin, Nevada. This is something that is going to be a reemergence for everybody. And I truly feel, and this is one of the reasons that I believe so strongly in Rich's dream, that Rio Solari represents what humans and a society can be. And the funny part is, it's not some far-fetched plan. These are all technologies and things that exist. These are things that people are doing, but not on the scale that they could be. And I think that once people, especially in Needles, a town that has been unfortunately, you know, I don't want to say decimated, but has slowly declined over the years with the changing economies and the way society has gone, is absolutely essential that they understand that this could be their rebirth, as I've said before. The rebirth of their economy, and really, as we say in Rich's tagline for Rio Solari, it's America's renewal. It's Needles' renewal, it's Laughlin's renewal, it's America's renewal.
So with the right people, the people who want to see things move forward and not just totally around and keep Needles where it is, there's people who, if the right people come forward to rebuild not just Needles, California, but the entire Colorado tri-state area, this can be done. This is not a dream. This can be done. We have the technology. We have the things ready to do it, correct?
Oh my gosh, ENN Solar, as I mentioned earlier, a Chinese company, is ready to spend at a minimum of $2 billion. That's with a B. And so that's big money. It used to be now, you know, millions are now sort of pocket change, but Now we're talking billions. So here's a company who understands that potential and is here to invest.
They get that this is not just some pipe dream idea. This is not just pie in the sky mentality. This is very real. This is California's renewal, Arizona's renewal, Nevada's renewal. And this does not necessarily mean that Rio Solari is going to be the only one here in the United States either. This could be the potential to change the country. It could be New York's renewal. I mean, look at Detroit, as Rich talks about. We mentioned vertical farming, which, for those not familiar, vertical farming is basically taking these dilapidated buildings and making them into giant greenhouses, for lack of a better word. You know, you could take a city like Detroit that has all these buildings that are falling apart, which literally are nothing more than to be demolished because there's nothing else that can be done. But they can be made into vertical farms and be feeding people that are starving, people that become sustained again on what America was built on, which is its own sustainability. We have the potential and we have the opportunity of Rio Solari to make this dream come true.
You know, I just want to add to that, and Dustin is absolutely correct. These downtrodden areas across the country are basically limbs without pulsing blood, and they're dormant. But for the sake of involving people and creating their own little micro economies around these dilapidated and defunct areas. An old steel plant that has literally millions of square feet that has been vacant for years. Old mill towns, you name it. The Rust Bucket along the Great Lakes has a legacy of this unfortunate circumstance. And so people coming to Rio Solari, just like I went to, and many people went to Epcot Center, which Walt Disney created down in Florida at Disney World, created that place to inspire people. Rio Solari is that place. This is the largest think tank in the world. It would be, again, I'm very humble about this, but because of this idea, as big as it is, I use analogies. For example, the Egyptian civilization. I'm sure that when people visit Egypt, for example, and they see the pyramids, and they see other structures, or the Roman Empire, and they're in awe of these human achievements. This will be on the same scale as a Renaissance, that which Florence, Italy created in the beginning of our most recent Western world Renaissance back in the 14th, 15th century. And so you can take that back further into, again, the Egyptians or even the Persians or the Greeks. And so Rio Solari is that bed of ideas and newness that could be the revival of this country, using Needles, California, up to Laughlin, Nevada, as a portal to interest people to coming to this point. It's just, again, the philosophical approach to ideas and human development. There is an ebb and flow, and so we hope that this ebb and flow, or this influx, will take place here to create that dynamic place.
I was just going to say one other thing too, and I can't stress this enough. The Rio Solari website, as we discussed with the presentation, riosolari.com, RIOSOLARE.com, has the presentation, and I would challenge people. I would challenge people to say that if you watch that presentation and you don't believe that that is Needles renewal, Mojave Valley's renewal, Bullhead City's renewal, Laughlin's renewal, America's renewal, then I don't know what else we could say that would convince you otherwise, because realistically and honestly, this is the future.
Now, once again, the name of the name of the project is
Rio Solari, RIOSOLARE.com.
Name for the big trucks, as you can hear going by. Repeat the website again.
It's RIOSOLARE.com. Rio Solari, which stands for River of the Sun, which, by the way, we don't have a logo for it yet. And if anything, I would like this video to be an online discussion or open source for creating a logo for Rio Solari.
Now, if anybody wants to get in contact to help with this, to join the project, to help with the project, or even just to ask some more questions, what's your contacts? They can contact you.
You can go to the site. There's a contact form on there. Contact at Rio Solari.
Do you have an email address?
That would be it. Contact at riosolari.com.
Do you have a phone number that people could contact?
Not at the moment.
No, but you guys are working on it?
Yes. We hope that as time goes on and I can personally afford to develop an office and personnel and so forth, that I could then take that energy and try to contact people out in the in governments, in industry. For example, like I said, I've been in contact with people like Ted Turner and Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. Of course, reaching through the hierarchy of such that magnitude is difficult. And so, to be honest, I not really had first conversations with the likes of these people yet, but that's what I'm compelled to do.
Final words?
Well, I just hope that this idea ignites the imagination of the viewer, and they are a linking point that will create or help bring Rio Solari to fruition.
I couldn't have put it better myself. That was great.